So literally, like as a country, we kind of have a problem. You know, we want acceptance. We want all these people to let us be who we are. Um, I'm talking about all the groups. We want this. We preach it. We try to make awareness for it. We try to be ourselves. Blah blah blah. We want acceptance. But you know what? I don't really see people doing very often. I don't see people accepting the ones they're trying to change. So to me, if I'm going to try and change somebody's mind, I'm going to first try to convince myself of why and how they can believe what they believe. Because if I don't, then I'm coming from a place of ignorance. And I'm asking them to do something that I won't do myself. Can you understand why somebody wouldn't accept that? Especially an older person who's big on respect and values that, no, I'm not going to change how I think. I'm going to keep thinking that same exact way. But if you go at it differently, if you connect and understand them and understand why they believe what they believe, because they have a reason to believe it. They grew up in different times than you did. They can't help whenever they grew up. You couldn't help when you grew up. Nobody can help the times in which they live. And we forget that because, all of a sudden the new generation doesn't like this time. They don't like the old ways. They don't like how it's this or that or whatever. And so they want to change it. The problem is that this whole generation is trying to change without being the change. They are not being themselves. I don't care what the hell you identify as. You're not being yourself if you can't even be okay with somebody else being themselves. That's just kind of the way it goes, I don't care if it's racism or what it is. If you can't accept them, then it's ignorance. Because morality and right and wrong, just as gender consistently changes, these things change as well. And so your arguments that you effortlessly provide to try and change minds are out of context, because what you're asking for can be used against you. And what you're trying to prove can be used against you in a way. Instead, you, like I said, connect. Try to understand why they think the way they do. Try to put your mindset that way and then expand on their mind by making them think that you at least know what's going on in their head, what they've been through. To make an attempt to learn their history. Sometimes people want that understanding and then they're completely open to change. But you try to force somebody to change, it's not going to happen. So what's the best way to go about that? Gender. What is gender? So gender is a group of traits that one identifies with and is a part of, or is a group, or whatever. So that means that male and female are still genders, which means that these people that are trying to say that these are the only genders are right, but only whenever you do this in reference to humanity itself, because humanity itself only has two genders, and you're talking about masculine traits and feminine traits. That's it. There is no other traits. Do you have neutral traits? I don't think so. I think it's only either positive or negative. There's asexual, but that's just a lack of one of the other. But it's not, whatever. So you have XX chromosomes or XY chromosomes, and those get placed into your head, And even though there is no difference in the male and female brain, I agree, there is a difference in how it reacts, because there's different chromosomes up there. And they've already shown that where the chromosomes are at, there is a slightly different difference in the brain. They just don't know what it does yet. But theorizing this, and from observation instead of just science, obviously how somebody reacts is how we define them. Ignorantly is how we define them as a person. So we see how women react, and that's a woman. We see how men react, and that's men. But when somebody is balanced and they don't react, they display neither of those. They display morally and ethically good traits. So, through deduction, the difference in the male and female brain is literally your chromosomes, which are either XXXY, or I guess there's some that are different and stuff like that. But anyways, going back to gender. Humanity as a whole, that's the gender. Now, if you expand on that and you break it down, okay, hey, now though, there's people be born this way and that way. And, do whatever reason, they feel different, they feel outcasted, and to find some sense of belonging in this world, they group together in likeness, the same thing that everybody in this world does. Now, they make their own gender that they self-identify as. That's easy to accept, honestly. The question I have, though, is that this one little group is wanting the entire world to change around them for their little self-identity that they just made. Because we are spoilt as Americans. And they think that just because their identity is different than the rest of us, that they need to have an option and a reason and a way to identify themselves. But they already do. The only thing that they're looking for, and what people don't realize, is they're looking for validation of who they are. Because they may group together and be themselves, but then when they come back out in the world, all of a sudden they're empty again. They don't know who they are. And then all of a sudden, nothing's changed. And that should be telling you something. Acceptance from the outside world is never going to help you. It doesn't matter how much you are integrated into this culture or into America or anything else. It don't matter whether we call you gender nonconforming or whether we call you male or female or what the hell we call you. Until you learn to accept yourself and be okay with yourself and to stop fighting to be yourself, it's not going to change how you feel. In fact, it's only going to make it worse, because it's a basic principle of cause and effect. If I am fighting for justice, that means I believe that there is injustice. As long as I believe that there is injustice, then my brain is going to be fine-tuned to see injustice everywhere. If I start seeing injustice everywhere, it validates the fact that I need to fight for justice, and once again, like I said, self-perpetuating. Instead of trying to fight and change everything, just be you. Because if you're just being yourself instead of trying to fight for something that's never going to work, you're going to end up around the people that accept you for you. You're going to find that sense of belonging. And it's going to come naturally because you're just being you.